This is the Recovering Preacher's Kids podcast, where two sisters share their journey of growing up a preacher's kid and how the bumps in the road led them to the foot of the cross. And welcome back to the Recovering Preacher's Kids. We have brought to you today a lady that if this woman is not considered as somebody that has a new beginning, then I'm out. I'm like, I'm done. I'm out. Not that this lady and I have the same profession by any stretch of the means, but she lived a rough life and she made a lot of bad choices, and I can get that. I
Mm-hmm.
I guess what is it when you like get somebody, you empathize with them? Is that the
Yeah,
right
that's the
word?
right word.
So,
Yeah.
so like she just makes a lot of sense to me, and I have to start out by saying that her name means the raging monster. And for anyone that knows me and my temper, you will understand why I find that humorous, because I too can be a raging monster. But her name is Rahab. And Rahab was a woman who lived in Jericho. She lived after Moses had died and Joshua was the leader of Israel. And so Joshua had been entrusted to lead the Israelites for the military conquest of Canaan. So, like, the 40 years are coming to a close of all the wandering, and it's like, it's time. It's time to go into the land. And so Joshua, he's got to get the land, he's got to take over the land. And so he sends two spies into this town called Jericho. And so when the two spies get there, there is a house ish, inn, hotel ish place. And the person who ran the house place, her name was Rahab, and she was a prostitute. And she was a little bit of a hustler. She was a prostitute. She ran this hotel inn place, whatever you called them. She made dried out flax stalks, and she would make rope and all the things you make flax stalks with. I don't even know what all you do. So, but she was a little bit of a hustler. And when they came to her door, she had heard about them. She knew that they were Israelites and she knew about their God. And so she tells them, we've heard you're coming. My people know y'all are coming and we're afraid. We're afraid. And so the the leader, I can't even remember what his name now is off the top of my head, but the leader of Jericho, I guess, is he comes and he hears that the spies are coming and he tells his soldiers, you go find them. And so the soldiers end up banging on Rahab's door, and she tells the spies to go up to her roof. She has some flax stalks drying out in the sun, and for them to climb up under those and hide. So she tells the soldiers that the spies have left and they went down this way, the other way. I mean, this is like a movie. And so she's like, they've gone the other way. You've got to go, like, go after them, that you probably catch them. So she goes up and she tells the spies, this is what you need to do. I've sent them this way. This is what you need to do. You go out here, you hide, whatever. And so, but she has one caveat. When y'all come and take over Jericho, will you save me? Will y'all not kill me too? And so the spies tell her, anyone in your house will be saved. And they tell her that the reminder is for her to take a scarlet rope and hang it out the window. And when they see that rope, no one will touch that house and no one will touch the people in the house. So fast forward, the spies are saved. They go back and they report to Joshua everything. They tell Joshua about Rahab, and they come, and we all know what happens at Jericho.
They march around For
they
7 days?
march and 7 days. And so on that seventh day, the seventh time, the walls fell.
They blew the
And so,
trumpets and they all hollered.
yes, and they fell. Well, everyone in Rahab's house was saved. Um, I might be wrong about this, but the Bible doesn't tell us if they went and got Rahab and them in the 7 day period, does it?
I think it was after they went in because it said after. I thought it was after they took the
After,
city because they went in and took them and brought them into the
okay.
camp.
I
And
thought I thought that was right, but
that's
then I
right.
started second guessing myself. And so anybody that was in Rahab's house was saved. So the spies take Rahab and her family and they move them outside of the camp because, in their mind, they could have diseases or
Yeah.
whatever, you know. And so, after a period of time, Rahab and her family are integrated into the Israelite family. Dare I say, family. And y'all, this is just going to make you jump out of your skin. She ends up marrying a man named an Israelite named Salmon, and Salmon's dad was Nashon, who was like a big dude in the Israelite army, wasn't he? Isn't that
It just said
right?
he was a leader with Moses. So I would
Okay,
have to assume so. He was
yeah,
important. Yeah.
he was an important dude. So guess who Salmon and Rahab's son is?
Drum
Drum roll.
roll.
Boaz. And who did Boaz marry? We talked about her recently. Ruth.
Ruth.
And who did Ruth and Boaz have? They had a son named Obed.
Obed.
And then Obed had a son named
Jesse.
Jesse. And Jesse had a son named David.
David.
So this harlot, prostitute, innkeeper, flax stalk dryer, rope maker, basket weaver
Weaver.
of a woman is mentioned in the lineage of none other than Jesus Christ.
I mean,
And
she was King David's great grandmother. Am I saying that
great
right?
great grandmother.
Great great grandmother.
Great great grandmother. And so let me tell y'all something. I read a statement in my study of Rahab, and it said that you cannot alter your past, but you can put your past on the altar. And let me just go on and tell y'all right now, I about had myself a hissy fit because I get caught up in the past. I have so many regrets, so much shame. I am the reason there are recovering preachers' kids. Like, I put preachers' kids on the map, and I'm thinking, oh, that's what you say a preacher's kid does? Okay, watch this. And so I made a lot of bad choices. And I think to myself that Rahab, how many bad choices did she make? But when she learned about God, something intrigued her and she gravitated to it and she held on to it and she believed in a God that she didn't fully understand.
Yeah.
I mean, she was in a pagan community. She didn't know anything other than the things she had heard.
Yeah.
And she said, "But I believe." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, Lori, do you believe? Do you believe in that way?" Like, she literally put her life and her family's life in the hands of men that she didn't know.
She knew for just a short time based
Yeah.
on what she had heard.
Yeah.
But it goes back to make you think and realize that what she heard was such a big difference. I don't know how to say what I'm thinking, but it was such a big difference of what she was looking for. I don't know. I don't know how to put it, but
No, well, I think that what I see is it was almost like she knew that maybe the way she had been living her life, there was something in her that she thought this is different.
mhm.
Because, I mean,
Yeah.
the Canaanite culture of Jericho, they were worshiping idols, they were worshiping Baal. So we've learned through our studies that that was pretty gruesome.
Yeah.
And here she's hearing stories of a God that saves and a God that is victorious. I mean, these people are going in and they're taking over all this stuff. And so, yeah, she was like, here they come. And they've been victorious when God goes with them.
No.
And even
Because
though
what
she
is it?
didn't really
They just had that. I'm sorry. She had
know.
her not too long, a few chapters before or whatever. There was just this battle or something, wasn't there? With the two
Yes,
kings or some kings or something. I can't remember.
I can't remember either, but I know what
Yeah.
you're talking about.
Okay.
I don't know. This woman really intrigues me because just like everybody else, I thought I knew her. Oh, she was a
Yeah.
prostitute.
Prostitute.
Yeah, she got her
Hmm.
life together. That's really great. Good for her. But when I
Applause.
really started studying her and began to put my feet in her shoes, it's so funny how the this season has caused me to spend some really one-on-one time with these women in a way I never have before, and it's almost like I'm hearing their story in a different way. And because of that, it's causing me to put my feet in their shoes. And I see myself in every single one of them in a way I
Hmm.
never have before.
Yeah.
And there was a statement made, too, in one of the studies I was reading that it said Rahab, I think kind of what we move past a lot of times is it said that her sinful past would have given her more love for God and a deeper intimacy with Him.
Mm.
And it like kind of like stabbed me in the heart to read that because it made me realize that I think I've watered down my past so much while I look at God, I'm almost watering down what Jesus did for me too. I just go through the day to day, if that kind of makes sense. And
Yeah.
I don't, not that I'm saying we should focus on our past. That's not what I mean, but it's almost like I don't live in the victory of it. So
Mm.
therefore, instead of saying, okay, God, I did these things and look at what you did for me, it's easier for me to either make jokes about them or water it
Mm.
down to so then when I go before God and I'm worshiping him, it's not the same. I don't know if I'm making sense when I say that, but
Yeah. No, you're making sense. I mean,
it
because
just
we do
really
kind of like to
convicted me.
we do kind of like make jokes of whatever or kind of anything that's hurtful. We kind of try to play it off, and I don't want to say take it seriously, but I guess to an extent, you kind of just kind of forget the seriousness of whatever happened. I guess is what you're saying.
Yes,
T-
because if I take my sin seriously, then that means I have to really admit what I did.
yeah, which I don't like to do.
I don't I don't either.
See,
I want to
I'm the preacher's kid that didn't want to get in trouble. I was petrified of getting in trouble, so I
well,
never
I'm the
really
preacher's kid
tried.
who got in trouble and figured out a way to blame it on someone else. Okay, because if I can blame my choices on someone else, then I don't have to take the full responsibility.
Mm,
And I feel like what I learned from Rahab is Rahab didn't do this. Rahab never once tried to say, well, yeah, I'm a prostitute, spies, but I can't, it's these men. It's these men that are doing it. I
mhm,
feel like she owned what she did. Like, yes, these are the things I did, but while she didn't fully understand it all, I felt like she just took accountability for it.
mm,
I feel like she never tried to hide it from
never
the
have.
spies. The spies knew who she were. I mean, you know what I'm saying? They
Right, right,
knew what was going on. And, I don't know if any of that makes sense, but it just really spoke to me that she was a woman that I've almost been like, oh, she's a prostitute next.
right, right. That's been me. I mean, and I've heard it preached. Oh, she's in the in the genealogy of Jesus. Okay. Oh, great. The prostitute's in the. But when I've really gotten in here and started studying her and reading like the details of her, I've been kind of like, wow, there's a whole lot to her. And I guess the lesson to me part of it was I need to be careful of, I don't want to say, I mean, because I think we all pass judgment, or we call it first impressions.
Mhm.
We have first impressions of somebody, and we think that we know their story. And Rahab is a prime example of, I, I didn't know her whole story. I never really got in there and learned. I mean, everything's still true. I mean, she was a prostitute, but the fact of her faith, that she heard about a God that was so different from what she was worshiping, that
Mhm.
took all these people out of Egypt, drowned the whole Egyptian army in the Red Sea, parted the Red Sea for them to walk across on. So all these stories, I never really thought about it, was coming to them. And it's not
Mhm.
like they had social media to say, "Oh, look, here's the Red Sea," you know. So I
I
mean,
didn't think about that.
how did all this get ahead of them? How did they,
Mhm.
all this information? So I don't know. This is kind of giving me a totally different look on her, as far as, yes, okay, yes, she had a lifestyle that was not conducive of what we think a Christian woman should be from, but
Right.
she was open to
Transformation.
transformation. Like you said, I mean, she didn't hide from it, but she knew there was something missing. There was something
And
that she needed something else, if that makes sense.
and yes, it makes perfect sense because isn't it true that we want to focus on someone's past or
Mm,
someone's mistakes and not focus on their transformation?
yeah.
Because she went from being a prostitute who was protected from judgment, and God gave her a new people, he gave her a new husband, he gave her a new life. He brought her through the kingly line of David and then an ancestor of Jesus,
Yeah.
all from like because she was open to being transformed, which then convicts me again because I struggle with transformation. I struggle with being transformed because then that means I have to admit my sin. I can't be transformed and continue to live the same way I've always lived. And when I think about her hearing the stories of all these things that God was doing with these people, was there some a seed being sown in her that like that's different, and did it cause her to face the life she was living?
Hmm.
And is that part of my problem is I truly have never stood and faced the life. I don't even want to say that I used to live the life I currently live because I still struggle with certain sins. I
Yeah.
literally make the same mistakes over and over
Over.
and over. And I continue to repeat the pattern. And Rahab taught me the reason I continue to repeat the pattern is I am not open to transformation, which means I am not open to God doing something big in my life. Because
How? How?
if God
How?
does something big in my life, then that means I must be open to God using me in my life, like using me for his glory. You see, it's all connected, it all
Ooh.
goes hand in hand. Well,
Ooh.
then what if he calls me to do something I don't want to do? What if he calls me to hide some spies? And what if he calls me to go to an area with people I don't know and out of my comfort zone? And like, I can go down the rabbit hole of this really quick because I'm coming to realize that one of my number one problems, and I'm ashamed to admit this, is I love Jesus, but I don't want to be transformed. I want
Ooh.
the salvation,
Ooh.
but I don't always want to
Mm.
be transformed because I'm comfortable in myself.
I
And
guess
if he
that nailed it.
transforms me, it will be something new to put on.
Yeah. And see,
Yeah,
and
that's
that's,
what Rahab taught me.
it scares me, because I'm such a people pleaser, that if I don't know, it scares me if he transforms me and wants me to do something, but then somebody over here thinks it's a crazy idea. Well, then I'm not going to do it. Does that make sense? Because I'm scared
No.
of, like, of what people are going to say, and are they going to criticize me, and are they going to make fun of me, or are they going to,
Mhm.
which are the crazy things. We're talking about God here, but then here's Rahab, who didn't care. I mean,
at
She stood
all.
bold. Yeah, she still
T-
stood boldly and then defended the spies. And I mean, I know she
Kept them
lied, but she
secret.
kept, yeah, protected them.
And then had the courage to go tell her family
Family. Yes, that's what I was saying.
and convince them, you need to be in my house. You have got to come to my house. She was like a Noah, you know? She
Mm,
was telling people who they'd heard the stories, but she's having to convince them, like, trust me, you need to be in my house. And I'm sure not all her family did. I'm
yeah,
sure some of
true.
them died. I'm sure they did. But the boldness she had,
Mm.
she didn't know all the answers. Oh, okay, this just hit me. How many times do we say we're not going to share Christ with someone because we just don't know? I don't know all the answers. Y'all, Rahab didn't know nothing.
And she did.
All she knew was
Yeah.
stories that she had heard and these two spies she had met, but yet she literally shared protection and salvation with her family. And she didn't have any answers.
Ow. To me,
Yeah.
that also tells you how important it is to be bold, even in your family. And sometimes it's,
Yeah.
I know sometimes we're comfortable with our family, but then sometimes that's even where I'm even more uncomfortable in
Mhm.
speaking boldly because you get the eye roll or whatever. But she didn't take the no for the answer. She was bold to say, look, this is coming. I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know how they're going to take the city over because it was a double wall city that it was very hard to get into the city of Jericho. And, she didn't know, but she knew they were coming. If God can part the Red Sea, something's going to happen, here. Um, so I'm sure she was just insistent with her family that, so do we do the same thing? And my answer is
So
no, I don't.
no, because is there's no greater evidence of what we really believe than how we behave.
I don't, I read that statement. Mm,
So if we really believe what we believe, then how we behave is
behave.
going to reflect that. See, that's convicting for me because I don't always behave in a way that shows and reflects the image of Christ, that I trust Christ, that I follow Christ. Like, I don't, that's not what the reflection that you always see. That's not how I behave.
Mm, 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 mm,
Not even
mm.
with my own, like, okay, I'll tell a quick funny story, like, because this is such an example. I got home from work a couple of days ago and the dishes in my dishwasher were clean and they were still in the dishwasher and it made me mad. And I hid from my husband while I cooked and because I was mad, like my insides were on fire. And I went and I sat down and he was like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "No, I'm mad." And he's like, "Why are you mad?" I'm like, "Because you didn't put the dishes in the dishwasher up." And he's like, "Well, you don't like it when I put them up because I put them in the wrong place, so I didn't put them up." And I'm like, "I know, but I'm still mad about it." And he was like, "So you're mad that I didn't put the dishes up that make you mad when I put them up because I put them in the wrong place?" And I'm like, "Yes, you need to say you're sorry." And he's like, "Sorry for what?" And I'm like, "I don't know, but I just need to hear it." And it's like that has been on my mind because I thought, like, I didn't even have any rationalization for being angry. And so it was a very menopausal moment,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, I can equate that to this same thing is that my behavior reflects everything. And the fact that I choose to not always know, I shouldn't say know the word. I can water down the word to fit how what I want to say and what I want to believe. And I believed my husband should have put the dishes up that day. When in reality, if he'd have put them up, he'd have put them in the wrong place, and that would have made me mad too. But it's like I water it down because I truly don't want to admit the truth. Am I
Oof.
making sense? Like,
Yeah,
I don't want to
yeah,
admit the truth that
yeah.
I don't want Shane to put the dishes up because he's going to put them in the wrong place, but yet I want to get mad at him because he doesn't put them up. Well, if I admit that I truly follow God and I stand on that, then that means I also have to stand on I trust him no matter what comes. I I'm not going to question him. I'm going to say,
Mm,
"Okay, God." Am I making sense what I'm trying to say?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
I just have realized that the two go hand in hand, and I've wanted to carry them separately. I
Mm,
want to trust God when I can see the answers and when I can see the salvation. But if I can't, then I'm going to trust myself. And Rahab did not do that. Rahab blindly trusted that what the spies told her was going to happen.
I never really thought about it like that. Because us control freaks like to see everything laid out.
I wanted to see it. I need the
Yeah.
map, and
And all
yeah,
Rahab was to do, her only thing she had to do was put the scarlet um, ribbon,
rope.
rope,
Yeah.
whatever it was, out her window. That's all she had to do in the step of faith that she believed that her and her family would be protected, whoever was in the household.
And don't you find it interesting that the scarlet blood during the
Mm.
Passover was over their doors and that they were saved, and then this scarlet rope saved Rahab? And I'm like, okay, only God can
God,
connect something cool
weave.
like that. Only God can put that together. Is that the scarlet blood's the only thing that's going to save us, and we're all a work in progress, and we're all working to get to that place. And I'm working really hard on trusting God this year, and it's so funny because everywhere I turn, I'm seeing evidence of people who trusted when there was no reason to trust. There was no evidence to trust. And so
Ooh,
God's showing me, okay, Lori, you don't have to have the evidence. You just have to put your faith to work and just trusting anyway.
I don't like that. I'm sorry. I just don't like that because trusting is hard for me. You
It
have to
is
prove to me
hard,
that I can trust you. I don't like that. Ooh, ooh. Mm,
right?
yeah, that
It
hurt.
right? It hurts
Okay.
me every day because I realize every day that this is an issue for me. And it's like I'm making up my bed every morning and I say, okay, God, I'm going to trust you today, no matter what. As I'm like pulling those covers up, because I'm thinking I've got to just keep telling myself that no
Yeah.
matter what comes my way, I'm going to keep trusting you because I have lived a lifetime of not trusting anything or anybody but myself. And evidence has proven I am not very trustworthy. So why I trust myself over God, I don't know. That's why I get Rahab. She wasn't a real
See?
trustworthy person.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, to me, this has been a really good one. I've learned so many different facets and different lessons from Rahab. Just beside the
Mhm.
point that she was a prostitute. I mean, that whole now when you talk about Rahab, I'm going to say, yeah, there's so much more about her now that you need to know. She's more than just what we have labeled her. And I think what we've talked about is we want everybody to understand you're more than what you label yourself. You're more than
That's
what
right.
people have labeled yourself. You're more than what you think your mistakes have happened when you let God transform you. And as you can tell through today, that's not something we've even grasped. So, I
No.
mean, we're still working on that ourselves, that we're trying to figure that out. But this was just the start of a lesson of a woman who did that, who was ready to make that transformation, to make that change in her life away from what she grew up in to something that was better.